Welcome to She's Got Guts, where functional nutrition meets ancient wisdom to bring you grounded insights and practical tools for your wellness journey. Join Laura, licensed Eastern medicine practitioner and wellness wizard, and Molly, registered dietitian and gut health expert, as they unpack trends, tackle bloating, balance hormones, and help you thrive in modern womanhood without completely frickin' losing your mind. Let's do this. Hey, today we're talking about the mindset and things to prioritize with gut health because women come to me all the time with the same questions. So we're answering those questions today.
I love it. I want to hear all of Molly's tips and tricks and mindsets because all of them work. And you're the expert.
Well, I think it's important for us to remember that on the internet, anyone can call themselves a nutritionist. And so we talk about this a lot, but that means that giving nutrition advice, like really even, giving medical advice online is not regulated. It's not a regulated space. So we're going to see all kinds of stuff and think that maybe it makes sense. And a lot of it could be pulled from marketing. It could be pulled from a bigger piece. That's like some of it's true, but not all of it's true. But the piece that makes the most sense and has the best hit is going to be the piece that people want to focus on. Well, that's where we're at.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
With gut health, the first thing you want to do really, I think people always think restrict. What do I have to give up? What do I need to avoid? That's always the first question that I'm asked by every woman that I work with. It's important to remember that gut health is an addition problem. So it's not what do you need to avoid, what handout or diet with a name on it do you need to follow, but how can we work to fucking develop a diet that has your name on it instead of just like the low FODMAP or, whatever else.
Yeah, it's really important to have that specificity, especially because you can have a longer conversation. That's what you're here for, is to have that longer conversation and find the gentle boundaries that work for that person with like this rule of addition. I love it. It's so inspiring, actually.
Oh, well, because everybody thinks that it must be that I need to go gluten-free, or no, I'm not supposed to eat onions, or I know it's bad to eat whatever it is. And the fact is that I could see 3 people with diarrhea or 3 people with bloating and give them 3 different recommendations, and often do. Thinking about it like that, then you start to turn your brain on and say, oh, well, because everybody, when we go through their diet and I say, what are you avoiding? It's like, I'm avoiding eggs. How come? Well, I heard they were bad. Okay. There are a lot of different things throughout the zeitgeist over the past 20 decades that have been said about eggs, both good and quote bad.
Yep.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that you personally are going to have a problem with eggs. And the most recent research, obviously, eggs are amazing. Thinking about that, then we start to kind of pull out, okay, so you're avoiding this and you're not even sure why. You're avoiding this because you were hoping that it would work, but did it work? So first most important thing is, what are you actually eliminating? Because, it can be so overwhelming. We're standing in the grocery store like, I should be gluten-free. I know I shouldn't eat garlic. I know that it's bad to eat fruit. And so we buy all this weird ass shit and then we get home and we're like, I have nothing to eat. I can't make anything. And by Thursday, you're knee deep in a Domino's and then you're like, I give up. And that's a horrible way to live.
It's so uninspiring, actually. It feels really crappy. Or you just go to the store with all of that you just said, which I think is extremely relatable. And then you're just like, whatever. And you end up buying what you normally do. You're like, I don't know. I don't know what to do. I'm not going to solve any problems today. I'm already just trying to like stay in the world without going crazy.
Yeah. Crying all the time. And the common thread is that you feel less than. Well, guess what? As a woman, we already feel less than. We're already not giving enough to work or to the family or to the, lawn. And I think that it is important to know that the food and the way that you take care of yourself, that's the one thing that you can control. Like the entire world is on fire. We can't control that, but we can control how we take care of ourselves and how much time we put into actually figuring out what we need and what our body can't handle versus what it can. That should bring us power. And I feel like for some reason, it's like, well, if I doom scroll the news enough, that makes me feel more in control than actually eating eggs and seeing if they give me diarrhea or gas.
Yeah.
It
No,
sounds
that's not
bizarre,
logical.
but it's very, very, very common. So I just want to give you permission. Number one, you can add foods in. How do we do that? Well, you make a list of what you're avoiding and then you take a peek, see what you are, why you're doing it, and chances are you can't
Mhm.
explain all of them. So, try some things that you haven't tried in a long time, see if they bother you. And then also think about, like, well, are there foods I've never eaten that I could try to, again, add? Like, how can we
Mhm.
bring in the most support and the most love and care and healing to our bodies and nutrients, the widest variety of micronutrients and plenty of macronutrients for us to be able to have enough energy to give to everybody else.
Yeah. Do you ever see themes coming up with people who cut stuff out aside from like gluten free or the FODMAP? Because I know, I don't know, FODMAP is just so incredibly difficult, and gluten free is difficult because of the way our world hides gluten in so many things that it becomes a little bit
Mm.
like a, what do you call that? When you're running around like a scavenger hunt,
Oh,
only it's
yes.
a scavenger hunt of avoidance. But what do you, when you kinda actually look at it and go, "Oh, this is really sugar-based," or "This is really," do you see any themes with the items that people have often?
Yeah, 100% of the time, we're not eating frequently enough. So there's like a long 5 hour plus period of time where we're either having like one crappy snack or we're not eating anything. Tends to be like
Mm.
between breakfast and dinner, somewhere in that neighborhood where we just
The
don't
beginning and
eat
the
a
end of the
thing.
day.
Yeah.
You just, like, literally don't eat anything. Oh, that's so sad. I hope people are eating something.
They are, but it's like a rice cake or a protein shake or something like that isn't substantial. And
Yeah.
I just, what happens when we get too hungry and when we skip meals is that then we are eating very quickly our next meal. We're
Yeah.
not making the kind of choices that we would have made if we were adequately nourished. We're exhausted, so we don't want to think about food. So we want the simplest, fastest, easiest thing, which is usually like
Mhm.
shredded cheese, like while you're standing in front of the fridge, or, just
Mhm.
something that you mindlessly grab from the pantry. And so we're eating that thing very quickly. Or we're like, whatever, I don't care about dinner. Like, I'll just go to the drive through because I'm a failure. And like, that's the major thing that bothers people. Believe it or not, it's not one
Mhm.
food more than it is I'm swallowing a ton of air, I'm not chewing, and I am grabbing the most convenient thing that I can find because I haven't eaten all day. Though that's going to
Yeah.
make your stomach feel like crap.
Yeah. Also, when I hear that, I'm so guilty of that. And when I'm standing in front of the fridge, I'm like, I know I need to eat. I can't quite feel the hunger symptoms yet. And,
Mhm.
being a provider, I'm like, well, I know that I've actually kind of been going nonstop for like the last little bit. I've had a good amount of nutrients from Supercube and I've had a good breakfast, but now I know it's been a long amount of hours and I need to eat something. But I'm tired. I'm in half cortisol land. I'm kind of uninspired, and now what do I do? Molly, help
Right.
me.
Okay. That's where having something prepared in advance can be helpful. So that could be like when we think about preparing things in advance during your best time of the week, when you're feeling the most hungry, when you're feeling the most like restored or satisfied, that's when we want to make the majority of our decisions. Like for me, I have to book every single hour in my calendar and say what I'm going to be doing. Like, well, what workout am I doing that day? What thing am I doing during that period of time? Not just like an empty space, because empty space to me, when I am in that cortisol, like,
Yeah.
then it means
Go,
nothing.
go,
And I think the
go.
same goes for food.
Yeah.
So things that you love, and even if it's just like, okay, you got a bunch of mangoes, they're ripe, cut them up and put them in the fridge. And then
Mhm.
you can grab some mango pieces while you're deciding what else to have. If you do
Mhm.
eat cheese and you've tried it and you find that it doesn't make your stomach feel better or worse, that could be something to use to your advantage. A lot of times I like to marinate and bake tofu, like extra firm tofu or super firm tofu, and
Oh,
just grab a
really?
piece of that and snack on it. Like dip it in sauce of choice, like peanut sauce with like a little Asian marinade. And that's just something that you can grab and go with that you don't really have to worry about too much. People do like balls, like overnight oats or, energy
Mhm.
balls with peanut butter and oats and that kind of thing. And
Mhm.
then two, just having something that you can grab. So the number one thing is like if you're putting away dinner, put some in a separate container that's your container, and then
Oh,
that's
heck
for the
yeah.
next day.
Yes, I do. That's like a number
S-
one thing in my house. I'm like, if you guys want
So
to leave a
like
little bit
there's the
extra so
boys'
I can have breakfast or
leftovers.
lunch tomorrow. Yeah,
Right. So
totally.
there's the leftovers for everybody else, and then there's the leftovers for
Uh-huh.
you that you have available. Standing there and saying, like, am I hungry? Um,
Yeah.
do I really want like a meal right now? And I think a lot of people think, well, it's 4 o'clock, it's 3:30, like I can't have a meal right now. Well, you didn't have lunch, so have some lunch.
Yeah.
And, if
Yeah.
you eat half the portion of those leftovers, then it's just a balanced snack. Or if you just want to grab
Mhm.
like the protein from there. And then I really like also, doing things like hard boiled eggs or having plain Greek yogurt with some fruit and nuts. Or,
Mhm.
trail mix is another one that can be helpful. But this is not, there's a difference between plain yogurt with fruit and nuts and trail mix. Like which one's going to be more satisfying? Which one's going
Right.
to be more nourishing? But also which one's a
Mhm.
bigger pain in the ass?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny too because I find that if I made these little protein super cube ball things that go in the freezer so long ago and I just like kind of make my way through them, but I put like chia seeds and whey powder and also I mean they're so dense. And they're like, I don't know, an inch little square thing. They're fine. They actually look more like a super cube than actual super cube does. Now that I think about it, it's actually like a cube that's pretty super. Um but I will find that when I'm in that zone, if I can find something that's kind of like you said, a hard-boiled egg or something that's fatty that kind of slows down, that I feel better to make a better choice. Like if I kind of take
Right.
something like that, like a handful of nuts or a soft-boiled egg or something that just kind of goes, okay, body, I'm nourishing you. You don't have to be in survival mode. Everything's fine. And then maybe you like go for a brisk walk or you drink some water or you sit down and you do something slow dopamine wise that kind of like takes your brain off of the fatigue of decision making or something. And then it's like, oh, now I feel I can kind of go back and put together a meal. It just felt like
Right.
pressure to do something that I was running from when I was approaching it the first time.
Absolutely. And having something ready in that moment is super helpful. But you could
Mhm.
even do like a rice cake and peanut butter and then sprinkle some pumpkin seeds on it or throw a half a banana on there or whatever it is. It doesn't have to be this dramatic situation, but it should
Mhm.
have a carbohydrate and a fat and then preferably also a protein, but either a
Yeah.
fat or a protein with a carbohydrate and you're still doing better than you would. And that's one of the things I talk
Yeah.
about in the women's gut health method is how do we pair the snacks and the meals, like the foods that you like, how do we optimize them so that they are going to work for you, that there's a combination that's going to be ready and it's going to be satisfying so that you can make better choices and that so that you do have time to chew and kind of relax. So that would be the first theme. And then the second theme is definitely people have a hard time generally with bloating and raw foods.
Yes.
Some people, it's like all onions. Some people, it's like, some of the FODMAP vegetables like broccoli or bell peppers. But then some
Mhm.
people, it's something completely different. And I think it's important to remember that there are many, many people that have no problem with onions. So to
Yeah.
avoid something, and onions, the fiber, the prebiotic nature of them versus onion powder, very different. I know that there's,
Mhm.
in Monash, there's like a concentrated amount of onion in the onion powder. But if you think about the way that the fiber itself is interacting with your body, if it's in powder form, to me and to many of my clients, it's not the same thing as like a raw onion on your taco. So keeping
Yeah.
in mind that there are so many nuances with things like that that you can probably eat more
Mhm.
things than you think you can. And that's the other theme is just people, they saw Dr. Gundry say that smoothies are horrible for you, so they're not doing smoothies. Or at one point they had a salad that was iceberg lettuce, but then it had, like some berries and some nuts and whatever else in it. But the iceberg lettuce bothers them, but nothing else bothers them. But they're avoiding everything from the salad because of the traumatic event that was associated with the combination of foods. So oftentimes it's that you ate a bunch of stuff like somebody came to me, for example, it was her birthday. So she had eaten like all of her favorite foods, all of which cream cheese pinwheels and cheeseburger and, all these delicious things that she loved.
Sure.
And
She's like,
then
"I'm
was
having
like,
it."
I can't eat anything. And that's how it feels because when you do everything and then you have a bad day or like an experience that's traumatic with your stomach, then you're like, I have no options. And so my job is really to help you zoom out and remind you that it wasn't everything.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't everything. Like, how did you actually feel? So how do people usually when people work with you, how do you start? You said adding and nuance. Those are so important. How do you help them reflect and kind of get in their body about it?
Yeah. So first of all, providing space, whether it's in one-on-one or group, I make sure that you feel like you're safe to unpack some of this stuff. And there's a lot of shame involved. Like I feel like
Mhm.
digestion and food and health and money are all kind of similar across the board.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
we feel like we're inadequate and shameful and, can't forgive ourselves for the position that we're in. Oh, well, if I had just never taken those antibiotics, then I know. And it's like, no, that was a prescription medication. You can't
Yeah,
beat
you had that
yourself
maybe
up
you
for
had
making
to.
choices in the past. Yeah, like that's
Mhm.
not, but there's so much out there. Oh, well, I heal this naturally and I use raw garlic and I never have to. And it's like people think it's a flex to just do
Mhm.
everything ultra uber natural. So giving you the space and the permission to remember that we're in the real world. We're not in an Instagram world where we have
Mhm.
to get the most attention. We have to piss people off a little and get them engaged.
Mhm.
We're in the real world. So in the real
Yeah.
world, we don't just eat raw garlic. That's not generally something that happens on the regular. Certainly it can be a part of your routine, but like fire cider,
Now
like
that
that
you
would be
say
way
that, I'm
more
like, God, that's
fun.
so true. That's so true. Where you're like, when is that actually happening in real life? People aren't walking
Like
around being
how
like, oh, this
often
onion is so
is
delicious,
there an
eating it
onion
like an apple.
in the sock? Yeah, whatever. Like, I'm sorry, but if
Yeah,
I went to
never.
bed with an onion in my sock and I was like, Scott, I really just don't want to take antibiotics. It's fine if I want to try that, but then when it doesn't work, like I wouldn't continue to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's a line and that line is with everything. But so giving you space, but then I also help people because we've got to determine like first we have to get you feeling better. So eating strategies, meal planning strategies, and targeted supplements, not like in excess, but certainly like a
Mhm.
few, one or two that can immediately make an improvement in your day-to-day life is the most
Yeah.
important thing because we want symptom management. That's a piece of it. But then also root
Mhm.
cause in finding what is causing these symptoms. You learning about your body. What is my body doing when I eat this food that causes me to feel like
Mhm.
I'm 6 months pregnant? And having
Mhm.
that education gives us the opportunity to then say, all right, I'm making a choice now that it's my birthday. I'm going to eat this cream cheese, even though what I'm realizing is I'm lactose intolerant. And here are the tools that I can use to help with that lactose. Now, this is a very basic example, but to
Yeah.
make it for the purposes of this podcast, I certainly just want to make it as simple as possible. But there's a
Yeah.
million things like that where we start to realize, okay, there's something going on at the root, and part of it's food, part of it's your gut microbiome, and part of it is the amount of time that you're allowing yourself to be able to eat and poop and walk around and get blood flowing to your extremities. And chances
Mhm.
are that that time is actually not adequate for what you need. And so, really looking at your life and your schedule because gut health isn't just adding foods, it's also adding, not replenishing, but like replenishing your soul would
Mhm.
be the best way to put it. So, how can
Mhm.
I, and we talk about this a lot. I think
Yeah.
that there is a huge, obviously, Chinese medicine element that I have no idea about. But what I do know is that, the mitochondria of your cell and the way that your neurotransmitters fire and the way that your body connects with your gut, connects with your brain, connects with your hands and feet, and your
Mhm.
skin, all of these things need to feel supported and like there's enough bandwidth to do that and your heart and your brain and everything
Yeah.
else. And when we don't have enough to give ourselves and we're just giving to everyone else, it's not a flex. It doesn't make you a better mom that you're cooking everyone a different meal, like we talked about with Dr. Jenny. It doesn't make you a worse mom that your kids want to
Mhm.
go to Chick-fil-A after soccer and so do you, so you go. That's
Mhm.
awesome.
Mhm.
How do we then find things at that establishment, wherever it is, that are going to work for you now? And how do we support your body so that in the future you can get some fried nuggets or something and not feel like crap? And that's like really,
Totally.
it's like a ball that rolls and continues to gather more and more. What am I thinking about? You know, like Sonic the Hedgehog, like I'm just thinking about him, but
Right, like
getting more,
accumulating. Mhm.
yeah,
Like a
like there's
snowball, the
another
snowball
layer.
effect.
A
Yeah.
snowball. I'm like a ball. It's cold out.
Perimenopause. We
Things
love
stick to
it.
it. It's like that because once we get that first layer of, oh, now I feel like I can make it through the day, I have enough energy. Then, oh, I had a bowel movement 4 out of 7 days today instead of 1 out of 7 days. Then we build and build and build. And so
Mhm.
that's really the thing that we can't do on our own. And that is the point of me talking about this and doing what I do because I have Crohn's disease. And I was like, oh, well, I just have diarrhea. That's because I have IBD and it's just going to be that way forever. And when I learned that, yeah, there's a microbiome piece and I fixed the microbiome piece. And then I was like, well, I can't seem to get a handle on whatever it is, like my skin or this inflammation or my ankles are puffy or
Mhm.
whatever it was. You learn more and more. For me, it's been a obviously almost a decade process that I can now apply to your life. And between
Mhm.
my doctorate training and my own personal experience, like, yeah, we can do all these other things, but if we don't fix inside how you have a relationship with food and how you have a relationship with yourself and how much permission you give yourself to make the time to heal, then you won't see the kind of results that you could see if if you did go beyond, just the microbiome or just a supplement protocol or just an elimination diet. Like, yeah, those things can
Mhm.
help in the short term, but I'm here to, in the shortest amount of time possible, change the trajectory of your life, not just like, oh yeah, take this parasite cleanse and then you'll be fine for a couple months and then you'll be right back where you
Mhm.
are.
Yeah, that's so great. So I feel like to summarize, when we're working with Molly, we want to get away from villainizing food, or you will get away from villainizing food and learn what to add in, like additions. What was the word you used? Additions are, you said something, additions are,
Additions, not
s-
subtractions.
yeah, nutrition is
Nourishment
addition.
and
Yeah.
nourishing
Yeah.
yourself. But
Yeah.
also like, when food has burned you, then you kind of hate it and you hate thinking
Yeah.
about it and you hate planning for it. So just learning different ways to interact with meal planning and food that are
Hmm.
more simple and concrete instead of just like winging it every day.
Yeah.
And that's something that you can also, just start to think about on your own. What are some changes that I'm thinking I want to make? What foods am I eliminating that I don't know why? So yes,
Yeah.
will reshape your
Addition.
relationship with
Yeah.
food for sure and
And do
nutrition.
it with a nuance for yourself, like a nuance for you in
Not a
particular, which I
copy
think
and
is really
paste.
beautiful. Yeah, yeah, you are not a FODMAP diet. You are a human living in the world.
You are a human.
Give you some mindsets, which I think is really important. Give you space, which is really important. I mean, space I think is the biggest piece. If you have someone that can help you see the big picture when you're in the storm of trying to just literally not shit your pants every day and not knowing whether or not you need to meditate, eat an apple, like think about what would work for you or add in something. Those are all wonderful things, but how do you know which one to do when? You talk to
Right.
an expert like yourself, and that's really,
Right.
really important.
And be willing to take the leap and do something for yourself that feels, I was talking to somebody yesterday and she was, my first instinct is say absolutely not. And we were laughing about it because, we end up working together. Of course, I too do not like to spend time on things that feel like I could do them on my own. And as high
Mhm.
achieving women, we've solved every other problem.
Yeah.
Like many of you are raising humans and birthed humans
Yeah.
or figured out how to, create a human, whether you birthed it yourself or not.
Keep
And
and keep them
that like
alive.
You're telling me I can't figure out how to not shit my pants? Like, that's bullshit. The internet is
Yeah.
filled with people who are telling me that I can figure it out. And so my job
Yeah.
is to just gently remind you here that it's okay that you can't figure it out. That's kind of the point.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. It's hard. Yeah, it's going to take a lot of trial, it's going to take a lot of error, and it oftentimes takes time, but there's nothing better than having someone by your side that makes you feel seen and informed and gives you permission and just makes you feel like a human just living, but with confidence and education and a partner by their side. Like, that's you.
yeah. And just having someone that you can rely on. And I think, more doctors going through more nutrition training is great. But in the 8 minute that is allowed, and in someone who hasn't devoted their studies to just nutrition, there's just so much that is going to be missing from that interaction that is going to leave you feeling more confused. So just remember, yeah, your doctor could tell you what to eat. ChatGPT could tell you what to eat. But if that worked, then you would feel better by now.
Yeah. Yeah. And if our system worked better, honestly, if our system worked better, which it will collapse
Then I would
soon,
be
mark
in
my
your doctor's
words.
office,
Yeah,
you
then
know,
yeah, exactly. Yep, you would
because
be
your
right
doctor's
there.
there to diagnose and treat, and Laura's there to rebalance her chi. And I am there to figure out what foods are bothering you and what's actually going on once you've ruled out all those medical things. So, health clarity is not something that is easy to get.
Yeah, that's so true.
Okay.
Well, what's the best way? I know that this platform is great for people to get to know both of us, but people
Yes.
can kind of hear your approach by what we do here. So please go through and listen to any episode that seems applicable to what you might be experiencing. But what's the best way for people to, really just quickly, quickly, because that's what we kind of need these days to
Yeah.
like get, in touch with you? How do they start?
I will pop a link in the show notes and you can check it out or
Wow.
follow me anywhere
So
at Women's Gut Health.
simple. Yeah.
Bye.
Thanks, Molly. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening. We offer personalized support to clients in many ways and would love to work with you. Reach out to Laura at Lala's Wellness and Molly at Women's Gut Health for more information. Unlock your full health and hormone potential with Super Q, Boom Bomb, and Best Tea. Check out the link in the show notes for more. See you next Saturday.